It's a fact that audio advertising works. Ad Manager is the first self-service audio ads platform that enables anyone to broadcast their audio ads across the top music streaming platforms in the world, plus podcasts, internet radio stations, and even mobile games. Visit admanager.app now and launch your first campaign in 5 minutes. That's admanager.app.
The Pat Kenny Show on News Talk
with Mater Private Network. During current restrictions, don't ignore your health concerns. Our expert team is ready to help.
Jonathan in for Pat this morning. If losing weight is amongst your New Year's resolutions, my next guest may have your solution. Brian Keane is a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach and sports nutritionist. He's one of Ireland's foremost thought leaders on all things health, fitness and nutrition, and he's got a new book out called The Keane Edge. Brian, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
Good to talk to you. How did you end up in this now? We were talking about colleges and careers and all of that. You clearly went down the fitness route quite early, did you?
I didn't. I used to be a primary school teacher. So for 4 years, I worked as a primary school teacher, 3 years in London, a year back here in Ireland, and part-time as kind of a side hustle. I did all my qualifications to become a personal trainer, strength and conditioning coach, sports nutritionist. And then about 10 years ago, made the transition out to doing it full-time. Well, 8 years ago now. But no, a little bit of a different career path as a teacher for years and then make the transition out into fitness in more recent years.
Well, you're completely proving my point that trying to force an 18-year-old to decide on what they're going to do for the rest of their lives is grossly unfair, regardless of what school they come from. On the business side of it, before we get to the book, you had to change course there as well, because being a primary school teacher, you're not really selling much other than education, yet you had to then become a business person. How difficult a transition was that for you?
It was tricky. It was definitely the hardest part. The fitness I found very easy because I played GAA, played football all my life. I've been very sporty. So I found that part quite hard, but the actual business was very difficult. Like, it took me 3 attempts. I went broke, Jonathan, twice trying to get my business off the ground, and I had to go back subbing in schools to try and get some money back again. But thankfully, the third time was the charm. So got out of it in the end.
When you started interacting with people then, the biggest challenge I always think for someone who's trying to lose weight is confidence, because it's not necessarily the fact that they're overweight that's getting to them. Maybe there might be a health issue that has emerged or whatever, but it's the confidence in admitting that there's a problem is probably the biggest hurdle they have to overcome first.
Yeah, 100%. And I think knowing why you're doing it is very important, especially this time of year, because I know it's tempting to just jump on the bandwagon in January, but you probably need a kind of a stronger why as to why you're doing it. Is it to, feel more confident when you walk into a room? Is it so that you can be healthier and move around and play with your kids or your grandkids or your nieces or your nephews? You nearly need to have a stronger reason for doing it, because that's where all of the confidence is built, because you know why you're doing it on, the days when the tin of biscuits looks extra tempting, or not going for that walk looks, because it's wet and miserable outside. Knowing why you're doing it, I think in the front end, especially in January in the new year, is very important, because then at least you have a little bit of an anchor on the days when you don't really feel like doing it.
What should we do with the last box of roses that's sitting in the house at the moment? Should we eat it and move on, or what do you recommend?
Well, I generally recommend giving it away, or the analogy I use
someone else's problem.
Yeah, I call it in the book The Last Supper, where people are like, okay, diet starts tomorrow. I need to clear the house of all the box of chocolates. And that's not an ideal situation either. The analogy I use is like, if you were going to run a marathon, you wouldn't chop off one of your legs before you go to run it, and that's what it's like eating a tin of biscuits or a tin of roses, or finishing out all the sweets in your house just because you start a diet on Monday. I would give them away, throw them out, or if you want, if you're good with portion control, keep them in the press, keep them in the cupboard, and have a little bit of them as you go along. 2 or 3 of roses. I'm quality street. That's my personal
good favorite. Man, you're preaching to the converted here now. The toffee pennies were discussed at great length before Christmas as being the finest of all sweets.
Oh, I am 100% on that bandwagon. I'm with you completely. But if you've got good portion control, 2 or 3 of those, even every day on a weight loss journey, is not going to set you back. It's the whole, it's having 10 of them or having 15 of them or 20 of them. Hands up, I did it over Christmas myself.
Yeah, everyone did, yeah.
We all did. But it now is a case of, if you're good at portion control, keep them in the house and have a couple of them each day if that's what helps you stay on plan with your overall food choices. 2 or 3 toffee pennies aren't going to make or break you. It's eating the entire box that's probably going to set you back.
That you've broken down the book into different parts, which helps. Part 1 is for total beginners. Why did you do that? Because I would have assumed anyone trying to diet or anyone trying to exercise would have a base knowledge to begin with, but maybe that base knowledge isn't quite correct, is it?
No, because a lot of the people that will read the book and people that I've worked with over the years have either some education or more likely miseducation. So, anyone who's been with a slimming club, any of those clubs that track your weight, etc., there's normally a lot of miseducation around food and how calories work, how food choices impact your body, impact your mood, impact your energy levels, all of these things. So for anyone who's coming off the back and they've done a diet or a slimming club before, that part 1 of the book is for them, just to kind of re-educate them or educate them from the start if they've never done a plan before on the basics of how food works, how nutrition works, how it impacts your weight and your weight loss, and making sure that you're getting off on the right foot before you dive into any other section of the book.
Yeah, you talk as well about lying to yourself, and when you lie to yourself, you convince yourself that that's all right. That portion was grand. Now that was a nice portion, and I've no reason to feel guilty about that. Whereas you actually use a plate the size of a tyre, and it was piled high. We're very good at convincing ourselves we're doing the right thing when deep down we know we're not.
Yeah, one of the lines that I give all my clients is don't fool yourself and you're the easiest person to fool. And I think it's really important when you're looking to lose weight, whether that's with your food, particularly with the portion control, that you're not fooling yourself. At the end of the day, it's for you. And if you're not working with a trainer, if you're not doing it for anybody else other than yourself, you have to kind of keep yourself accountable with it. So I would advise that put the finger back on you. If you're not losing weight and your body isn't changing the way you want, there's a good chance you're probably just eating too many calories or too much food, more so too many calories, but too much food in some cases. And if that's the case, you take ownership of it, you take responsibility and go, well, this week I actually ate too much and that's why the weigh-in scale hasn't dropped. But once you've done that, at least you've got ownership of it. And if the weight isn't moving and body fat isn't reducing, then you at least have feedback on what you can do to improve the following week.
There is no fast way to do this, Brian. I think it's fair to say that if you're going to lose a stone in a fortnight, you're going to put that stone back on quickly. It's about training your metabolism, isn't it? That you do it over a prolonged period of time. You don't diet. You look after what you eat and when you eat it.
Yeah, 100%. Like one of the kind of main theses of the book is that the diet paradox is what I call it. Like diets don't actually work because diets, and again, Jonathan, we all have versions of this where a diet is something we follow for a month, 6 weeks, maybe 3 months, and then we go back eating quote unquote the way we normally eat. And that's kind of not the best, it's definitely not the best way to lose weight and reduce body fat. Like the best way to do it is to find a food plan that includes foods that you enjoy, that's in alignment with your goal, which is to lose weight, and it's something that can fit into your lifestyle and your schedule. If you can't follow it for 6 days, you're not going to be able to follow it for 6 months. And when you start to see weight loss like that, it becomes considerably easier because then you're not eliminating the toffee pennies from the quality street, because if you want to have them, you can have them. You're not eliminating or restricting and removing entire foods or food groups, because that's just not sustainable for most people when it comes to weight loss.
Brian, a lot of people become obsessed with this. And obsession is a very unhealthy thing for anybody to do about any particular topic. Do you see that? Do you see people becoming obsessed? And when you see that, what do you do?
Normally, taking people and getting them to take a wider angle view at what they're doing, because when January is a perfect time for this, but people think intensity versus consistency when it comes to weight loss, and that's the completely wrong way to see it. And intensity looks like, removing all the sweets from your house, not having any biscuits after dinner, going to the gym several times a week, or going for several walks and having a salad for lunch and dinner because you overindulged at Christmas. That's the intensity method, which isn't useful. You can do that for maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks if you're super disciplined, but you will fall off track. Whereas if you think of it with a wider angle view, like consistency over the next 2 months, 3 months, then it becomes a lot easier and you take the pressure off yourself. A lot of that pressure is self-created because you feel like you've overindulged and your weight is up after having too much food and too much drink for a couple of weeks, where in reality, if you just take a step back and make some small food changes that could potentially help you lose weight, and then adding in some form of exercise regimen, whether that's going for a walk after work or going for a walk after dinner, or whether it's doing some workouts in your home or joining the gym or doing something active that you enjoy. They're the things that you can do consistently over time. And when you see weight loss like that, it makes it considerably less daunting to stick to.
Okay, like 100 days of walking, have to mention it again, contractually obliged and all that. Brian, do you miss teaching? Just out of curiosity, because it's a very different track you went on. You did it for 4 years. Primary school teaching is a vocation, despite what anyone says about it. Do you miss it?
I miss the kids. I don't miss the teaching, because I think largely what I do now, between all my social media and podcasts and courses and programs, I'm doing a lot of teaching just in a different area. I definitely miss the kids. Now I have my daughter who definitely makes up for that, because she's she's the best. But I miss working with the kids. I did love that part, but no, I don't miss the day-to-day, general Monday to Friday of teaching.
Yeah, and you'd be frozen as well, because all the windows are open right now. Brian Keane, the book is called The Keen Edge. It's out in all good bookshops and some of the terrible ones as well. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning on The Pat Kenny Show.
It's a fact that audio advertising works. Ad Manager is the first self-service audio ads platform that enables anyone to broadcast their audio ads across the top music streaming platforms in the world, plus podcasts, internet radio stations, and even mobile games. Visit admanager.app now and launch your first campaign in 5 minutes. That's admanager.app.